But when we sat down to do AOL strategy, and we went through a very long process over several months with thousands of employees, to think about where we could be, we looked at the future and we said, display, mobile video, and really, one main thing that we were going to focus on at a company was content. And content really is the future of what is going to drive AOL. And during the strategy sessions, we basically looked at different phases of the internet. And the first wave, which AOL has a storied history in, was access. Is how do people get online? What do they do? And then the second piece, which has made the internet incredibly useful, is around platforms. And I think platforms are something, as a business, that you can, find things, share things, and they're very mobile. They make the internet really useful. And that's kind of been the last decade. So, the 90s were really about access. In the last 10 years, it's really been about platforms and incredible companies. I mean, I think the Googles, Facebooks, Apples of the world have built, fantastic platforms. And we think about the next wave, we really think about content. It's really, what is going to come through the pipe. And when we think about what comes through the pipe, we start to get really excited. And I wanted to give you just kind of 5 things as a company that we have thought about betting on. And just because it's before lunch and I need to make it a little interactive for you and for me, I thought we would do a little quiz. And so the first thing we're betting on is related to this number. And I'll give you a hint. It was in the press last week. Does anybody know what this number was? Journalist at AOL. That's very good, but that's only a half the number. We have twice as many as that, but that was a good guess. It's the number of stores that Blockbuster is closing down, either partially or fully, and it's about 40% of their retail distribution. And when we think about the changes in the economy, the recession has really started to drive incredibly large white spaces, on the internet. And if you're Redbox or Netflix and you're competing with Blockbuster, your opportunity set just got dramatically bigger. We think there are many places in media where there are Blockbuster type moments happening, and part of our strategy has been to really look at those areas and drill into them and get focused around executing against them. Who knows what this number was? I'll give you a hint. If you're a video music fan, it's in relation to that. Any ideas? No? So this is Kanye West interrupting Taylor Swift. This is the amount, 290,000 of tweets that happened in the first hour after that interruption happened. And again, the second thing we're really betting on is that distribution is changing. The ability to get people more targeted content faster, better, cheaper, and more personalized is really things like, Twitter is, we feel like there is a game-changing starting to happen in how actually things get distributed. And so we're betting on the fact that users using, Twitter or other types of platforms are actually going to make it much easier for us to distribute the right piece of content to the right user at the right time. And we think that's a big opportunity in the content space. This one, you may be able to guess this one if you're an ESPN fan. This is a score from a World Championship game that was reported on ESPN in the early 1980s. Can anyone guess what sport it was? No? No sports fans in the house? It's Chris Berman reporting on Ultimate Frisbee. And this, I used to work at ESPN, and they used to play this clip over and over, and some of you may have seen it because I think they used it in a lot of sales presentations, and it is a very important point as we were debating the strategy is, content always trails distribution. So you think about, ESPN, Chris Berman, no Armani suit, in normal street clothes reporting on the Ultimate Frisbee, to where ESPN has many channels, many global locations, covering probably the biggest cover of things like the NFL. It started with Ultimate Frisbee, and when we think about the internet today, we feel like we are sort of in the Chris Berman type mode of really allowing distribution to grow and grow and grow, but content's going to come right behind it, and we're going to follow it very closely. Okay, who watches TV on Sunday nights? You can be honest, you're not working. All right, 3 people in the second row here. So does anyone have any idea Sunday night what that 40 million number is attached to? What do you guys watch on Sunday nights? Come on. God, Football? No, HBO. Who said HBO in the front row? Very good. So this is the number of paid subscribers that HBO has. And not only does content trail distribution, but brands start to get created in that distribution flow also. And if you think about HBO as a brand, their next closest competitor, they have 40 million paid subscribers. The next closest brand has about 16 or 17 million. HBO is a pioneer in terms of getting into content and owned content and originated content as well as licensing content in a very creative way. And the opportunity to build brands, our strategy at AOL is to build many brands inside the growing distribution, but the future of brand content we feel like is going to start in 2010. Okay, 609%. How many people are US Open fans? What was the most controversial moment at the US Open? Serena Williams, the line judge, which Serena got ripped off, let's be honest. But the 609% for us, and this is really, if we got into the inner circle of the AOL strategy, which we're not sharing everything, is really built around this, which is there was a 609% change in the amount of information users were looking for, demanding from us around Serena Williams in a 1-week period since that happened. And that's a very high-level consumer example. You can imagine if you were able to judge that at thousands or tens of thousands of content types and figure out where demand is coming from and how demand plays into targeting content to people and giving people content. We're very focused on this as an overall summary, is how do we figure out who to get content to when and what content are actually people looking for in a very systematic, machine-driven approach. So having spent 20 years in the content and the advertising business mainly, there's a lot of days and weeks and months where, and I think the industry has been bent on this, which is the ad systems, and you see more announcements every week on the sophistication and technology systems around advertising. We're in the process right now of building that same level of sophistication in content management, and we feel like the future of content is going to be driven by very sophisticated content management systems. So we're bringing sort of an ad scale mentality to content.